All right, Apple's next big event is right around the corner. And you know what that means? The rumor mill is absolutely churning. But what's actually coming? In this explainer, we are going to cut through all that noise. We'll give you a super clear look at Apple's roadmap for the year so you can figure out what's worth your money now and what you might want to wait for. So get this. On March 4th, Apple is throwing what they're calling a special Apple experience in 3 major cities. Now, this isn't your typical keynote streamed from Cupertino. No, this is a hands-on event for the press, which, if you follow Apple, you know almost always means one thing. New hardware is about to drop. And that really gets to the heart of it, right? With so many new products potentially on the way, do you jump on whatever they announce in March? Or do you hold out for the big flagship stuff that we know is coming later this year? So let's break this down into a near versus far look at Apple's master plan.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the near future. Everything we're hearing points to the March 4th event being all about more accessible, more affordable products. And the main attraction could be a real game changer for Apple's entire lineup.
You know, for what feels like forever, getting into the MacBook ecosystem meant dropping at least $1,000. But the rumors are swirling, and they're getting loud, about a brand new category, a truly low-cost MacBook. This would be a huge shift for Apple, directly targeting students and, well, anyone who doesn't want to spend a fortune on a laptop. So you might be asking, how are they going to pull this off without it feeling cheap? Well, the leaks suggest it'll use an A-series chip, like the ones in iPhones, which are powerful but cheaper to make than their M-series silicon. But here's the kicker. It's not all about cutting costs. It's still expected to have that premium aluminum body and, get this, come in some really fun, vibrant colors. This could seriously shake up the MacBook line.
Okay, moving from laptops to phones, the other big star in this budget-friendly show is looking like the iPhone 17e. Now, it probably won't be a radical redesign, but the upgrades we're hearing about, they are a very big deal for an entry-level iPhone.
And what's really cool here is you can see Apple's classic playbook in action, taking those high-end Pro features and letting them trickle down. We're talking a zippy new A19 chip, the glorious return of MagSafe charging and huge connectivity boosts. Plus, a much better front camera and double the base storage. These aren't just numbers on a spec sheet, they're upgrades that make a real difference day to day. But hey, it's not all about the entry-level stuff. Don't worry, power users, Apple hasn't forgotten about you. The March event is also expected to bring some serious horsepower to the Pro lineup. Let's dig into what's coming for the Pros. And this is that classic, predictable, but honestly very welcome Apple move. The MacBook Air and both the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros are all expected to get the next-gen M5 family of chips. Even the iPads are getting love, with the Air possibly jumping to M4 and the base iPad getting the A18. So the key takeaway is probably no major redesigns, but you can expect a significant boost in speed and efficiency across the board. And then there's this one rumor. It's a bit of a wild card, but it's got creative pros really excited. It's a potential, and long overdue, update to the Studio display, which hasn't been touched since back in 2022. A new version can bring mini LED for those deep blacks and amazing contrast, finally getting real HDR support. And then promotion, that silky smooth 90 or 120 Hz refresh rate. For anyone doing video editing, graphic design, any kind of visual work, these upgrades would be absolutely massive for their workflow. Okay, so that's the stuff that's right around the corner. But what if you're holding out for the next true flagship iPhone? This is where we shift our gaze to the far horizon and dive into the leaks for the iPhone 18 Pro, which should land this fall. And the first rumor, it's a big one. 2 nanometers. Now that might not sound like a huge deal, but in the world of chip design, it is a massive leap. Basically, a smaller process means Apple can cram way more transistors into the same tiny space. For you, that translates to a huge boost in both speed and battery life. We're talking something like a 15% speed gain and 30% better power efficiency. It's a monster. But let's be honest, the chip is amazing, but the real showstopper for the iPhone 18 Pro looks to be the camera. The leaks are pointing to a major overhaul, introducing a feature that, up until now, has pretty much been exclusive to high-end, standalone cameras. It's called variable aperture. This would be a first for the iPhone, and it's a huge deal. It's a physical, mechanical part of the lens that actually opens and closes to control how much light gets in. This gives you insane creative control. You can get that tack-sharp focus on your subject with a beautiful, blurry background, or keep an entire landscape crystal clear.
It's a true pro photography tool in your pocket.
And of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the island on the screen. The iPhone 18 Pro could finally be the next step toward that all-screen dream, moving past the dynamic island we have now.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the best in the business, they can't seem to agree on what's going to happen. Big names like Ross Young and Mark Gurman think it's just going to get smaller. But then others are claiming it's going away entirely, replaced by a simple little pinhole camera. So we know a change is coming, but what it'll actually look like is still completely up for debate.
And that's not all. The rumor list for the 18 Pro just keeps going. We might see Apple's own brand new modem for blazing fast 5G, maybe even full-blown satellite internet access, not just for emergencies. The Pro Max could get an even bigger battery. And on the fun side, some really interesting new colors are supposedly being tested, like a deep burgundy.
Okay, so let's step back for a second. We've looked at the near and the far. What does this all add up to? When you read the tea leaves, what does it tell us about Apple's grand strategy for 2026?
When you lay it all out, a really clear two-part strategy starts to emerge. First, they're working to make their world more accessible, with things like the low-cost MacBook and the upgraded iPhone 17e to pull more people in. And at the exact same time, they're pushing the high-end forward with those big performance boosts and genuine innovation in the flagship iPhone.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. When you look at this mix of smaller, incremental updates and one big, ambitious flagship push, does this feel like the lead-up to Apple's next major breakthrough? Or is it more of a play it safe year, where they focus on refining what they already do so well? I guess we'll just have to watch and find out.